Rebbi, you're not coming back next year. I'm not coming to school anymore.
Yeah. He actually also asked me during class, the same kid. He's like, "Are you coming back next year?" Of course, he chose to do this at the time that was literally, I finally got the class together. The whole class just,
They always know the right time. They
yeah,
always
it's
know.
perfect.
Perfect timing. So what really broke my brain about this, what really like boggled my mind is that I've been teaching this kid for years now. And when I was a kid and in any other school you go to pretty much, you're gonna have a new teacher every year. But this kid,
Mhm.
he's upset like to such an extent that he doesn't even want to come to school because he's going to have a new Rebbe.
That's incredible, actually. It's really cool. What do you think is the secret to a kid not wanting to come to school if the Rebbe's not going to be there? Like that type of connection.
You know, this started 7 years ago, 6 and 5 years ago. People were like, "Oh, you're gonna teach the same students for another year? Okay, maybe 2 years can work." Trust me, 3 years, it doesn't work anymore. And then people are like, "You did 3 years? Okay, but you have to switch up. They have to get a new Rebbe." And now
Yeah.
I have 7 years, the same student. He's been in my class for 7 years. Some of the
Hear
kids,
me
three, four.
just because other people are watching this. The biggest challenge to having the same students for 7 years.
The biggest a challenge.
I'll tell you what it is. Finding a new Gemara to learn every day, right? Because that's our biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge. I think, yeah. It's like such a bracha. I don't switch out my kids every year. It's like
Yeah,
the most
that's a good point.
beautiful connection. And the fact that I'm going somewhere else now to be a principal of a school and to, move things to a bigger scale.
So I think that's a really good point because I think like for my kids, I would never want to switch them out for anybody else. I do feel that with our students. Like I do want my students to know that I'm here for you forever. Like even if I'm only teaching them for a year, right now I'm here with you forever. Like the Rebbe says about Abinani. At this moment, I can't sin. Like the relationship is so strong.
Well, we just had today one of the kids from that already went to yeshiva came and spent the whole day with us. He sat in class, sat there asking questions, answering questions, and he was excited to come back from yeshiva. He could have stayed at home and hung out, whatever, and he decided to come and join us at Lamplighters. And I told them and made it very clear to them that I don't think you're just my students for only 6 or 7 years.
100%.
I don't think you're just third, fourth, fifth, seventh, and eighth grade, and then that's it.
I,
I think you could be my student forever. A Talmud goes for life.
I just got regards today from my sons in Australia when I spent on shlichus. It's
Yeah,
regards from someone I taught 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Yeah.
That is, it's like, wait, you're Zalmy son. Again, it's like you gotta say hi. So yeah, I think there's something important about honest connection. I think kids really appreciate that, knowing that you're there for them.
Right. It can't, one thing, if you want to teach the same students for more than even 5 minutes, if you really want to have a relationship with the kids and actually maintain it for several years, it just has to be real and it has to be thorough. You can't say, you know, these kids are messed up because like last year's teacher kind of was his fault. And, there's nothing I could do at this point because it's like, no, this is my student. And I already start like looking into the kid the year before I get him, 2 years before. I see kids in kindergarten and preschool, and I start thinking, how can I help make sure that by the time this kid comes to my class, that we can make sure that everything's okay and he knows how to read and he learned his shape recognition properly and that he has proper mental health and he's taken care of. And then and it's not like, oh, the next teacher's going to take care of him. I'm worried about him in his next school. I think that the most beautiful part of chinuch to me is that I could really connect with people and
Yeah,
make sure that they're okay and follow through. The meaning of the word chinuch. I looked it up. I think it's like 7 times in Tanakh, 8 times in Tanakh. And the Mepharshim say, they clarify, what does the word chinuch mean? It means to start something that stays, to initiate something that stays, like Chanukah's Habayis, Chanukah's HaMizbeach.
I was gonna say Hanukkah. Yeah,
Yeah, Hanukkah. You start something that stays. You start a behavior that stays. You start a new way in learning that stays. You start a new way of feeling that stays. But it has to stay. If it didn't stay, then it's not chinuch. If it doesn't last, then it's not chinuch. So if you're just teaching a kid for 1 year,
I think a lot of people think that when they think about a teacher, they think about like the policing that we do and the maybe even and the educating, like the content, the academics.
yeah,
I don't know if people think about the
the Prussian education system has really got to us. You know that you got to have these hours and these grades and then test marks, and everyone gets a
I
score.
just told the parent today, I said the best thing that we could do for our schools if we gave a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock at nap time. I think everybody would do, everybody would do a lot better.
Nap time for the eighth
Seriously.
graders.
Not only that, everybody. It's very hard. You come back from recess after 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm trying to teach math. I'm falling asleep. They're falling asleep. I mean, let's be real.
Nap time after they play sports and they're really, really tired out. We pull out the mats.
Still out the mats
Everyone gets a pillow and a teddy bear,
and a water bottle.
and they all take a nap. Full care.
Yeah, and then you wake up and then you're ready to learn. I think that for me, I think the students learn the most when I make a mistake.
When you make a mistake.
Yeah.
So do you try to make a lot of mistakes?
I don't need to try. But no, like when I make a mistake, how do I deal with that? Because in real life, people are always making mistakes.
So you're saying
For real.
being genuine and showing your vulnerabilities and
Not about, I don't know if it's so
your
about
humanity.
how do well, like you're talking about like what stays. I think what stays is how to deal with life.
Oh.
Like how to life is not put your finger on the third line of the Gemara. Like how many times do I do that in real life? If I'm learning Gemara, do I always use my finger? Do I always put the right finger on the Rashi and left finger on the? I don't know. Those are not real life scenarios. But making a mistake, apologizing, getting back on track, and it's okay to make a mistake.
Well, in general, you have to model everything you do with chinuch after real life. So
I think just going back to our classrooms, our weird classes with like multi-age. That's another real life scenario.
Right.
You and I, we're not the same age. I mean,
we're not close to the same age.
we worked at the same school.
Yeah, we worked
And we worked together and we're able to talk to each other and we're able to be friends.
Yeah, about the same age gap between my students and I, and Rabbi Zalmy and I. So having
I embrace my age. Sagacity, I use more than old.
I have no idea what that means.
Cherish is sage.
Okay, got it. Sagely.
Yeah.
Rabbeinu Zalmy, we'll call him.
That's not what we're doing. But yeah. My greatest quality is my humility.
The greatest quality.
Yeah. Everybody knows that. So it's no, really, I think one of the most impactful moments of chinuch ever was when I made like a super big mistake and like yelled in front of a whole class for no reason, just because I was not feeling well. And then I got this amazing letter from the Rebbe that basically said like, you sometimes you're gonna have to suppress your emotion and hold back your Torah need to rebuke, in this case, your student, because you're not in the right place right now. And I found so many times if I don't deal with it when I'm emotional, if I don't deal with it right now, and that's true with my kids also.
It takes great sagacity. What did you say?
Sagacity.
Sagacity to recognize that the reason why you yell at the kids was because you were having a hard day. That's amazing. That's why I love you, Rabbi Zalmy.
Thank you.
Because it's
when I yell at the kids, it's my
you yell at the kids. I did, yeah.
I think I don't often yell at kids.
No, you never yell at the kids. It was one thing in all the 7 years I've been here, one time that it happened, and it was like such a heartbreaking moment for you, and it was such a tough time.
It was cool. No, it was cool to be able to learn from that, and everybody else around me.
It was cool yelling at them? No,
cool
that
yelling, but it was not fun.
That was not fun.
I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
I was really not feeling well. Not like today.
Yeah, it was tough. I remember.
Yeah, I think that's super. That's an important thing for me to like. If I'm learning something and I'm able to do that together with the children,
yeah, the kids got to experience that together with Rabbi Zalmy. They got to really go through like the whole tshuva process, the whole realization.
I printed out the letter of the Rebbe. I brought it into class.
Right.
We all learned from it together. So I learned that I am allowed to make mistakes and correct it and not deal with everything right when it's happening. And the students who were upset at whatever was going on in their classroom, they also were able to do the same principle. Even though I'm upset right now, I don't have to do it right now.
I think that's the success to keeping the students for a long time. First of all, you have to have a mentor like Rabbi Zalmy who recognizes that when he does something, maybe when he reacts to the kids being outrageously wild, and the kids, I mean, many would say deserved a good yelling at in that instance.
It was yeah, it was a moment of real chutzpah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a moment where
I don't think anybody watching this would be upset at me for yelling at the kids for that moment.
exactly. Most
Yeah.
people that would hear that would be like, yeah,
They deserved it.
they they definitely deserve the good yelling.
But you're right. But the truth is, it wasn't effective, and never is.
Yelling is never effective.
Well, emotion. All they hear is you're angry at me. They don't
Right.
hear what what I'm saying.
Right. All right. The Vidya Rebbe writes clearly that if you want to actually change a kid in a chinuch way, in a way, something
Lasting.
initiating, starting that's something that stays, that lasts, it needs to be through consistency over time, not just one moment where you yell at the kid really, really loud and then you get your
So
point.
that's really interesting. So we just went full circle because I think the reason that your student is so connected to you is because of the overtime ingredient. Overtime can mean 1 month, 1 year, or 7 years, or in this case, whatever, 5 or 6 years, whatever it was. But the point is that there's a lot more impact to overtime.
Yeah.
And I've seen that myself. And I think we've seen that with ourselves. In other words, the more I'm working at the same job, the better I get at it.
Mm.
Well, isn't that true about any relationship, any
Right.
marriage?
And the greatest part is they all like get my sense of humor now. I never have to explain my jokes. They all have the same humor as me, so they're all hilarious. They have the best sense of humor, and they all have the same way of thinking as me. And they'll bring mashalim just like I do.
When they meet a new teacher for the first time,
I
that
worry for the new teacher.
well, that's for sure. But like, they're not going to get jokes for like a year.
They're like, nah, it's a different style. Like your whole the whole brain gets shaped after years of spending together
Yeah.
growing.
I mean, the proof is, I have a kid who's in your class for 7 years, and he 6 years, whatever. But he learns three Pokemon Rambam now. You know that
Amazing.
three Pokemon.
I wouldn't have given permission to do that. I think it's
I'm not as much for either. That was
yeah.
a lot of it.
And you have boys learning Masechtas on their own.
He's learning himself also.
Yeah,
Katya, I started learning Baba Kama. Why? Because I'm bored.
I'm bored. Amazing.
He's bored.
Yeah.
Boredom is not good, by the way. One of the worst things for human beings is boredom. I've just come to this realization recently. Parents, parents that are bored, really bad. Kids that are bored at home, really bad. Kids that are bored in school, really bad. Why is it bad? I did like
They
so.
say 70% of injuries in camp come from free time,
Well,
free play.
so why is that? Because 150 years ago, nobody was bored. If you were bored, you starved.
Okay, because you had more necessity.
So you have to do all 39 malachas of Shabbos in order to eat. You know what I'm saying? You have to winnow, whatever it's called, and sift, and then you can get to like thread your loom and make your clothing. I mean, it took you all year to make a shirt.
People were more busy, you think?
Surviving, saying just like the basics.
It's an interesting theory.
Nowadays, you say, "Hey, I probably should say it because hey Siri, order me, or order me food." And the restaurant drives up a little robot and brings you food. We are living in Mashiach's times now,
Right.
where we could spend our whole day learning an extra masechta.
I mean, it's amazing. But how do we get their kids to a place where they want to spend their own time, their bored time, learning a Masechta instead of getting up to trouble?
There's going to be more episodes for this podcast, right?
We got to do this. We got to keep doing
You know what I'm
it.
saying? That question is not like, I think I also need time to learn all that.
All right. Yeah. I mean, to
I'm
get
still
ourselves to
I'm still learning.
right.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
That's I think the crux of it all is when they get to experience you experiencing life, and they get to live it with you, and you take them on trips, and you sing Nigunim together, and you really experience a holistic experience together with the kids. There's Shabbatones. They see how you are on Shabbos with your own kids.
Today we had a very, very intense experience. Not in your class, but in some of the classes upstairs, because the air conditioner broke.
Oh wow.
And that was a very life altering. It was about 87 degrees in the classroom.
We basically went back to the olden days. We had to start winnowing again. Air conditioning.
Well, there was also no windows that open. I mean, it was pretty,
Yeah.
we had to find a new place to learn and
Right.
then refocus. It was big.
And
we did it.
experience life together.
Yeah, but there's a lot of trust already built in. Like when I walked to the classroom, I can't learn. Right. So that like initial thing. And I said, can someone ask me why I came into the classroom? Someone was very kind. Said, why did you come to the classroom? And I said, never thought you'd ask. I said, I came to the classroom to ask your teacher, Mrs. So-and-so, that we don't learn here. Because I don't think it's safe to learn here.
There you go.
So yeah. So I think that like knowing like the truth. Come on. Like, what, I'm gonna start getting mad at these kids for not learning in a room that's literally 87 degrees and sweaty.
Right.
So we came up with a solution. It worked pretty well. But even that, just the kids knowing that you're on their team, you believe in them, you trust them,
Right.
you don't have to be right over them or right. You don't have to get them.
Mhm. Right. If it is coercion, if it is a battle, you're not raising kids that are going to go and do it on their own.
And you're not going to win the battle.
They're always better than you. That's it.
Well, just at a very basic level, there is something called child abuse. There's not really something called teacher abuse. And if there is, it's never enforced. So we got a lot less options than they do.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely have more
Yeah,
more play.
more play, more leverage. Yeah. So at a very basic level, they're going to win. Yes, I think getting into power struggle is a bad idea. And there are ways of doing it. I mean, it takes a little training.
To bring genuine.
I wish I could teach every child not to get into a fight. Like, that would be really cool.
Not to get in a fight with
anybody.
With anybody.
Imagine you had the superpower that nobody can make you angry, nobody can make you sad, and nobody can make your punch feel back.
Basically, nobody has control over you.
Exactly.
You are in control of yourself. That's what you want to.
Yeah, it's called self-control for a reason.
So,
and that's the truth.
So nobody can make me offended, right?
I could choose to be offended.
Right. Mara Cherry had an amazing story with that. She was saying she took the kids to a store, I think it was, and somebody in the store said, "My goodness, you're as short as these kids." And one of the kids goes, Mara Cherry, aren't you offended?" And she says, "Why would I be offended? If somebody told you that you have brown hair, would you be offended? This guy is a strange guy. He wants to say reality and start saying things that
announce things. Well, people do this all the time on all types of social media.
Likes that.
I'm eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm eating breakfast. You are short. Okay. Whatever you want to announce. Which it was such a powerful moment of educating these kids. Mar Cherry's my wife. She's amazing.
Yes, and one of our teachers in school.
And one of our teachers. Amazing. Yes.
I think that
I get to keep her when I leave.
Yes. I think that I think that our that goes back to like real life scenario. Like that's lasting because you are going to hear people making fun of people, either yourself or others, in real life. More like
Right.
what they witnessed on that trip to the store.
It's very much real life.
That is real life.
Yeah.
And they were able to learn from their teacher,
right? But
how to handle a real life scenario in real time.
Right, and that opportunity would have never arisen had she not taken her students to the store.
Correct. In our classrooms, I don't think anybody would tell her that she's as short as we can't figure that out.
So she has the opportunity to take the kids out of their bubble, really go places, to explore, to do Shabbatons, to be at a store, to go to the park, to do overnights, camping trips. All these experiences, when you get to experience those things together with the mechanech, the kid, together with their mechanech, that's what makes you be able to teach the same kids for 7 years, and then
which is similar to parents.
And then you're
their children, right?
Huh?
I was like,
yeah.
I take my kids to the store, and we have those experiences. I would say like an anti-Semite yelling at me that the Jews steal all the money, and but she finally took a breath. It took her a long time. She finally took a breath. I said, "Just do me a favor, please, if you would."
How usually?
No. I said, if you ever meet that Jew that has all the money, can you tell him there's a rabbi in some Barber that could really use some help? The whole story.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. The whole story. Too good.
Well, I did it for my kids. Like, it was just me. I would just like be like, "Thank you so much for sharing."
Right. I don't really have time for it, but you have to.
My kids, I wanted them to know that someone can yell at you, and it doesn't mean you're angry.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're upset. Doesn't mean you're offended. Doesn't mean you're ashamed.
You don't have to match that person's energy. That person's espousing a certain energy. You could be your own energy.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about how to do that. There are ways of physically shielding yourself and like all that good stuff. But grounding, So.
Zalmy's chinuch tools.
But there's like that superpower of not letting other people. And I think it makes people feel safe around you when you're not getting upset. Think about it, like your best friends, the people that you really trust, the people that they're not usually people. I think for me at least, they're people that they don't let other people choose who they are. Mm-hmm. They're their own person.
Right. I wonder if it was more the standard that being a mechanech was to be yourself and to express your personality and really be 100% authentic and genuine, how many more people would be excited and enthusiastic to go into chinuch? Because, like, I just
Uh,
going through this process of talking to many different schools and finding a new place, and we found for the Bay Area. But there's so many schools
we
that
could charge for advertisements.
there's so many schools looking for principals, for teachers. There's just a huge gaping hole of missing mechanchim. And to me, it's like, why? This is the joy, the best thing, the best experience ever. I wonder if it's people think that you have to like put on a show, be
Interesting.
this strong figure, and come with passion and yell at kids or like intimidate the kids or somehow
Manipulate,
manipulate.
array.
But if you just knew that, you know what, you could just be yourself and have a personality and make funny jokes, and you'll learn an incredible amount of Torah, and the kids will gain tremendously just by being around you and by you being a genuine person and a good mentor. I wonder how many more people would go into teaching without the sense of intimidation or trepidation of
Do you think that people are equally scared of being a parent for the same reason? Because I find that lately I'm meeting people who are scared of their kids.
people scared of their kids. I think that's definitely a thing.
But they're not really scared of their kids, like their kids are going to hurt them,
They're
but
scared
they're
that
scared their kids are going to find out who they are,
right,
or that they're not as good as they wish they were, or something. And what if they knew the same secret? Like if I'm just myself, your kids are going to appreciate you for that.
right.
They don't want you.
It's the same thing with dealing with the internet. If you tell a kid, okay, I can have internet without a filter because, I got it covered. Like, I got this. But you, 13-year-old boy, you're in grave danger if you have access to internet. You could like your neshama could burn up and it's very dangerous for you to have internet. Listen, I'm
I got
experienced, I'm older, I have an understanding. Versus the way I was educated, which is we all have this struggle. I mean, you have some amazing stories about that. And this is the way my father brilliantly educated me. It's like we have this struggle that there are things on the internet that we struggle with, and therefore when we go on the internet we need to go with a mission and a purpose, and we only go for that purpose, and therefore we put
to
boundaries.
watch our podcast.
Yeah, that's it. That's the primary goal of use of internet, is to put out Tyra, to put out important things, important messages for the world, to produce, to share.
That I've embraced that immediately. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. The broadcasting.
yeah.
And there's so much opportunity to learn, to listen to shiurim, especially like where we live far out here, It's hard to get shiurim.
Some of us drive almost an hour every way. We have a
Exactly.
lot of time together. My kids are very into the latest podcast, which do you like Rabbi this one or Rabbi that one? Sure.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. It's a great outlet. But the main thing is you just need to be there experiencing with the kids. I don't have it all figured out, and my students know that. I'll be able to. This is an amazing thing that's happening, I think, now in Chinuch, where people apologize to their students. Like you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
that's major progress when you could say, okay, I'm not actually perfect.
How else is a child supposed to learn that when you make a mistake, you apologize?
If he never sees it modeled for him, he needs to have the model.
Or does he think that when I get older, I don't need to apologize anymore and I don't need to filter on my internet?
This is a temporary thing.
It reminded me of a story. I once was at a bar mitzvah, and the kid, one of the uncles told the story that when he came home from Hebrew school, he asked his father, "When do you stop putting on film?" Because he learned in Hebrew school that you start at 13, but his father doesn't put on anymore.
Oh, okay. So at what point are you
So when do
supposed
you
to
stop?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And to his credit, the father never missed a day after that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a cool story. But the point is,
Wow.
like,
Children teaching their parents.
right, but like it's the same thing. If we're demanding things of our students, that we don't hold ourselves to that standard. If we make a kid say I'm sorry, but we won't say I'm sorry.
Yeah. And ultimately, because of that, I would have never had nearly the growth that I have had in my own personal life, only because of my students. I mean, the Talmud, the Yasser Mikulam
Yeah,
is the most powerful and real. I mean, it's Torah, so obviously, but it's just overwhelming how truthful and
100%.
how real it's been for me growing as a person with my Chitas Rambam, my struggles, and because of course, I'm being authentic, I'm being together with these kids, but instead of being a fear of letting them find out who I am, it's more like, oh wow, I should really work on myself, and it's something I'm so happy with that I have motivated.
Wait till you have your own teenagers. I learned a lot more.
Even more. I'm
A lot
excited.
more.
I'm excited.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. No, but it's true that you do learn.
Kids make you into an adult. Having your own kids makes you into an adult.
What's an
Having,
adult?
yeah, an adult.
How do you define that?
Uh,
Because I always say if I ever grow up, I want to be a fire truck. 'Cause all my friends wanted to be firefighters, so I would be the truck, like
right,
supplying the man. I thought it was
right.
a good model.
Yeah, an adult is somebody who thinks about others, who is considerate and thinks of the bigger picture and doesn't just live in the moment.
Would you say that there's some adults that are 10?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I think like the Fiat Cannabis age doesn't go like by the passport.
right.
For sure, preteen nowadays, if anybody's listening to this, preteen starts at 8, teenager starts at 10. That has definitely been,
Teenagers starting at 10.
yeah, that's definitely been upgraded. That's been updated.
So 10 teen, it's a thing already.
That's a thing for sure.
10 teen, 11 teen, 12 teen, that's it.
It comes right after 11:6. No, but seriously, yeah, for sure. Like whatever,
Those struggles, those experiences are now
well, awareness of the world. I think that in the information era, whatever you want to call it, I think people, the idea of being a teenager was that you're starting to understand the world in a bit broader way, and that's impactful. Like, oh my God, like there's hostages in Eretz Yisrael. So a 10-year-old's like, okay, I guess that's sad. Let me say, tell him. 13-year-old would be like, wait a minute, what if that was someone connected to me? What if, God forbid, something bad like that happens to me or my family or people I love? So that abstract thinking, because everybody knows everything now, they're starting to appreciate that they have enough information. They're able to start appreciating those bigger thinking, I think, earlier.
right.
And I think also there is evidence of people maturing faster and also in the body. So I think that it's real. Like I think there's a
One thing I'll say is there's a fear or a misconception, I'd call it, that because you're treating the kids like adults and you're really respecting them and you're value
we have a lot of tests.
heavy, and the kids know that. Years ago already, this is 6 years ago, one of the kids, we had a new kid in the class, and all the kids told him, I overheard this, Rebbi, it is really strict, but don't worry, he's nice. He's nice. He's really strict, but he's nice. So Rebbi, the same Rebbi that's playing dodgeball or elimination with us, or kickball, whatever it is, and the same Rebbi that's taking me on Shabbatons is also saying, right now, we need to spend 10 minutes of writing. And it's painful and difficult. When we do 10 minutes of writing, then we go to brick. When we pass our tests, then we this. Like, you need to also hold accountability in kids. And for some reason,
But
I keep getting this.
but I think that's the honesty piece. In other words, everything that we do is real. So yes, if we are learning this, this is really important for you for whatever reason. So yes, we're going to do this for real.
Right.
And if I say that you need to know 15 words about the week, you need to know 15 words about the week.
That's
okay.
it. Hold accountability.
Yeah,
But it goes together. That's, I think, a misconception. People think that
whole child.
yeah,
I just threw out a catchphrase.
a whole child
Every podcast needs a catchphrase. You got to teach to the whole child.
to the whole child. Yeah, and you're trusting the kid and you're believing in the kid, but you're also believing that they're going to do it during lunch break right now because we know.
And check up on them that they ate lunch so that they're
Right.
that they get right.
100%, 100%. Without letting things slide. We're not going to let things
Right.
slide just because you missed lunch, but we are going to make sure you eat lunch before you make up what you missed. So if you could be tough,
Yeah.
you could bring joy, and you can have actual learning all at the same time. You can have all three. You can have it all. You need to have a holistic approach, and you build a tremendous bond. The fact that several of the students are extremely distraught, is, first of all, deeply painful for me, but also makes me realize that this whole experience over the past 7 years has
I
been,
think it's a good thing.
I mean, it's a painful experience to hear your student cry out and say, "We can't believe you're leaving us." Like, I can't believe it. And me, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing it either. But at the same time, it's like, wait a minute. I was told that this is not a possibility. Like,
Change is very hard for everybody. I think that's a rule of life. Our brain spends the entire day trying to maintain homeostasis, which means that your heart rate is calm. So it's when you're walking up a hill, your heart rate goes up so that your body will have enough energy to maintain stability.
Stability. Okay.
And then when you sit down, your heart rate will slow so that you can be stable again. If your heart rate racing in the seat, it doesn't work. If you eat too much, it's going to tell you you're full. If you have too little, it's going to tell you you're hungry. So your body spends the entire day trying not to have change.
So
That's how your brain's wired.
how beautiful is it that we are able to keep a teacher, Rebbe, with the kids?
For 7 years, that was a win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just saying that the idea of change is hard. So what does that mean? So let's be good models of, yeah, we can do hard things. And yes, it's going to be hard. And yes, it's going to be different. And yes, it's going to take some adjustment. And it's going to take some adjustment.
Yeah.
And while still holding people accountable, we will help them with the art part too.
Right. Change.
It's going to take time to get to know a new teacher. It's going to take time to get to know a new system. Whatever it is. For me, also, as the principal, to have a new teacher working for me. So
It's gonna be different.
different, change. Change is hard. It's also good. It's growth. My wife told me a long time ago, but I think she heard it from Rabbi Jacobson, that when you're walking up a staircase, you only have 1 foot on the ground at a time. It's the most unstable time. But in order to go up, you have to lift up that 1 foot. You can't keep 2 feet on the ground to get up the stair.
Right.
You'll never be able to get up to a higher level. So there is a lack of stability. There's a shakiness, and that's how you get up.
So now we have to teach the kids and initiate a new behavior in our students of how to deal with change, because life is going to throw all sorts of changes at them.
To be fair, I think we've done a pretty good job we've done lots of change. We've had, besides rock climbing and skiing and all that other fun stuff, I'm saying we started a chumash, we're not with Gemara,
Right.
every Taisus. I mean, we do, in general studies as well. I'm saying we do change. It's not the first time they've experienced change. It's just a big change.
It's a big change.
And many of them have experienced tremendous change in their lives. And they can fall back on that experience and know that they're going to be okay at the end. And then there's a few that have experienced traumatic change, and that's going to freak them out. And that's part of life. And then there's you and me that we're going to be changing, and that's okay.
Yeah. I was asked an interesting question. It's what is more important? The having a classroom with very good structure. Like this one person asked me, I had a math teacher, who she would walk into the class, turn off the lights, turn it on. Everyone had to be perfect in their place, structure. There was no personal connection. It was 100% business. Everything was business. And she loved the teacher. She was a great teacher. No connection with the kids, zero connecting to the kids, but they learned tons there. And then there's this other teacher who is like chaos in the classroom, tons of love and attention, zero structure, and the kids also really like them. On the one, like for me, I try balancing both having a lot of structure and having a lot of connection, and obviously that's the ideal. What?
Maybe.
Which one?
What if that math teacher, that was her truth? That was her, honestly.
That's her way of dealing with.
What if she was like a math brain and everything was calculated and everything was organized and everybody loved her because she was who she was. She came in there and she taught in that way because that's who she was. I believe that if she wasn't really like that, people would be frustrated and annoyed by her because she's trying to be strict and she's trying to be this and trying to be that, and she doesn't even know math.
She's not authentic.
Right. But the reason they like both of those teachers is because that was them.
Right.
And I think that's what you were saying before. Be a teacher. If you are someone who likes to be yourself, chinuch is a great place.
Right. At the end of the day, you want to teach your students certain midos. You want to teach them how to be structured. You want to teach them how to have connection. You want to teach them actual like learning material. Like they should learn a lot of Masechtas of Mishnayos. They should learn a lot
No
of
boredom.
Yeah, no, they should really know how to work hard in their learning and sweat, blood, and tears. So you want certain characteristics imbued in your students, but it's only going to come through authenticity.
Right. I'm saying like when I hear that a child loves a teacher, I think it's pretty safe bet that teacher is representing their true self in class. They're not putting out a good show. It's very hard to like a faker for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I told my students a while ago, I know that each one of you likes me. I said, you know how I know? I said, because I like you guys way beyond anything. because I love you guys. So it's obvious to me that I know that each one of you likes me as a Rebbe. And they all like, just shook their heads. It was like, obviously, yeah, of course. But of course, and I have absolute confidence that all my students love them, because if a student ever does something that makes me want or feel that well, I shouldn't say makes me, like you said earlier, but if a student does something that, and I feel dislike afterwards, first of all, I right away think, what is this, my problem or is this their problem?
What my first thought is, did I drink enough water today?
So did I
And
take
then,
care of myself? Did I get enough sleep last night? Right.
for that, yeah.
And then it's
And
another
then,
important thing.
right,
Wait a minute. I need to uproot this possibly from this kid.
yeah.
If there's a kid, Nebuch has a midah that makes other people react and dislike them, I need to make sure that this is so important. This is the number one thing I need to take care of, to make sure that this kid is a person who will be liked by their teachers. So that's the first thing I'm going after. If there's anything that I'm going to make sure one of my students has a behavior that needs to change, it's going to be a behavior that will make people dislike them. And so all of my students are likable, because that's my number one priority, is that I like them.
Especially my kids.
Especially,
My kids.
oh, I should like your kids.
I'm saying you do. They're likable.
I do. They're highly likable. You need to make sure that your students are likable, and you need to make sure your kids are likable. There's a myth out there that you can't hate your children, but Shlomo Melech says you could. Shlomo Melech says, spare the rod, hate the child. That's it. Chaysa, shiftay, sayna b'nai.
You're saying that there's permission to hate your child.
It's not permission to hate your child.
So
It's a reality.
are you saying that it could have happened that someone
It's a reality that people,
hate their
there
children?
are many people out there who are perhaps in denial and will never admit this even to themselves, but deeply hate their own children,
And
deeply hate their students,
can I
and vice versa, unfortunately.
can I be really obnoxious and suggest that perhaps in many of those cases it's a v'haftal thing?
They don't love themselves either.
Not either. You love people like we love ourselves.
Right.
That's the golden rule. So if someone's not comfortable in their own skin and not happy about themselves or the way that they were parented or whatever, it's so likely that it's going to pass on to their
Right.
kids.
Right. Besides for that, I think there's also an important element of the shivtai, of the discipline, of ensuring that the child has that chinuch, and making sure that your kid doesn't do things that make you dislike them. You should not be allowing your kid to tug at your shirt endlessly if that's something that bothers you deeply.
Rabbi Chase Taub says that there's 4 P's in parenting. There's policing.
Oh, I always thought it was like during the road trip,
Fine.
Stop every 5 minutes because the kid
Right. So policing, fighting. You have to give them breakfast. Protecting. Making sure they're protected. Then there's parenting. This parenting class, which I love, by the way. I took it twice. But those 3 are not parenting. So when you're policing, that's not chinuch.
Right.
When you're taking the marble out of your 1-year-old's mouth,
it's an order that you can parent.
right? But there's no long-lasting educational impact going on over there. That's just emergency mode. Right. And so for me, that was so liberating. Like, there are times you're gonna have to
do certain things.
Eat supper, because if you don't eat supper, you're gonna starve.
Right.
Right. So let's get that done. Right.
One parent holds open the mouth, the other one shoves food down the throat.
I don't know if you ever have to get to that extreme, but we're eating now. That's providing it, protecting it for themselves, and maybe it's even a little policing. But I'm not parenting then. I'm parenting when I say, "Oh my gosh, guys, we're gonna pull over right now because we have 2 things that we have to do right now. That if we don't do them right now, we're not going to be doing the right thing. We have to eat and we have to daven mincha. And which one do we do first?" And so when you're in that real life scenario, and that's chinuch, because that's a long lasting thing. We stopped at the side of the road. We thought we were going to fall off because there was a cliff, and I'm saying, whatever. We pulled
The Adventures with Rabbi Zalmy.
Adventures. I actually, when I was 9 years old, till I was 13, I, on a typewriter, wrote a book called Adventures with Tati about all the times that I got lost with my father.
Wow.
And I have no idea where it is.
You lost it.
It's probably on a Adventure with Tati.
It's an adventure somewhere lost with Tati.
It's unbelievable stories. I have some really cool stories. Yeah. One of them is with the Rebbi. That's why we decided to write it, but it's pretty cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
Stuff, yeah.
Adventures with Rabbi Zalmy, and then it's a second generation
Second,
version,
second sequel.
the sequel. There you go.
But yeah, it's incredible. Real life lessons.
From just travel, going around, doing things.
But it really happens when you're whatever value. So whatever value we're trying, let's use the word value. Whatever value we're trying to teach, let's say it's persistence. So my sink broke a couple.
Right.
My sink
Okay.
broke. So I went to Home Depot and I bought a new sink thing. And then I looked at it. I was like, what do I do now? And I'm not going to find the plumber at my Mesa. So
Okay.
I climbed under the sink and my kids passed me the wrench and the thing. I actually did a pretty good job. The one thing I was not ready for was that when you unhook the sprayer piece,
It gets everywhere.
well, it's a U.
Okay.
So there's water
Water
in that
filling it,
U.
right.
That water went direct into my ear. But that was, all my kids are going to remember that for the rest of their
There
life.
you go. That's the experience.
But right. But can you, yeah, okay. Yeah. I think we should pause here for a lot of reasons.
All right.
The main reason, you're not going to guess this, the battery level on my laptop is very low right now.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
So it's like a sign from
Low.
Hashem.
All right. But your battery level is
My battery level is pumped. I love talking about chinuch, so
right.
I'm fired up.
But we just discovered that the laptop battery is low.
I'm just, sometimes Hashem sends you a
Signals.
signal.
Yeah. In this case, it's a battery level.
Right? Like imagine like it ended like what?
An amazing Rabbi Zalmy.
Yes.
And it's been an amazing journey over the past 7 years.
Yes.
And I think doing this podcast will allow us to continue this journey together.
I thought you were going to say encapsulate. Like
No, to continue,
yeah.
to keep it going.
Yes.
Because I've learned so much from you, Rabbi Zalmy. So much.
And me from you.
And so much.
We've learned from each other.
Like, and how to deal with life for myself, and automatically to be able to give that over to my students and to my family and my own personal growth, which is extremely connected with my educational growth and teaching, and my back to my personal life and back to teaching and consistency and
Parenting.
and that whole cycle. So we hope to continue this journey with all of you, learning about chinuch and growing together in new initiatives and new beautiful, wonderful things in a beautiful world.
All right.
That's that.
Thank you. That was great.
Okay.
So one of us is gonna have to do the awkward move right now of getting up and pressing like stop.
Yes.
Can we keep that part in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.